man for the Milwaukee Brewers. He is also a former PawSox play-by-play guy. He is Jeff Levering. Jeff, thank you very much for joining us. I believe this is the second time you're joining us in the Strike Zone. How are you today?
It is.
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh,
We're doing great.
Fantastic.
First of all, Jeff, this is Jason Jasnowski. It was a pleasure working with you the last couple seasons at the Pawtucket Red Sox, and you've obviously made the jump to the majors, getting a job a few months ago with the Milwaukee Brewers. How has that experience been so far for you?
Oh, it's been great. Thanks, Jason. And let me just say first and foremost that what a pleasure it was to work with you the last couple of years, and extremely talented. You do a great job. So the sky's the limit for you, first and foremost.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But anytime. The experience so far here in Milwaukee has been great. Had an opportunity to go down to Arizona and do a bunch of big league games for spring training, which was fun. I was there for a whole month, which is great. And, you know, my role right now, I wish I was on the air every single day, but my role is kind of being the pinch hitter for Bob Euchre, which is kind of cool in itself. So he's 81 years old, and he doesn't make every single road trip, so I'm going to make the road trips that he doesn't make. So I'll end up doing about 60, 70 games, somewhere around there. But it's a great opportunity for me to get to the major leagues, and you know, it's a dream that I've always had, and an opportunity that presented itself, and I'd be silly if I turned it down. So it's a great opportunity, and you know, the folks here in Milwaukee are great. And despite the really bad start for the Brewers, fans are still showing up, and they're very passionate about their Brewers here in town.
Absolutely. They seem like a very passionate fan base. Now, you mentioned Bob Euchre, certainly one of the most legendary voices, I would say, in the history of sports. We've seen him in movies. We've seen him in entertainment. He really, I feel, just the name alone transcends the broadcasting realm, and he really is a legend, borderline icon. How has it been like just dealing with him, interacting with him, and what maybe pointers has he given you, or just experiences in general?
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, to tell you the truth, the last interview that I had to do to get this job was go down to Arizona and have dinner with him and his wife. So, I mean, you know, it was between me and one other guy to get this job. And they called me up and said, hey, we're going to fly you down to Arizona the day before Christmas Eve. And, you know, go have dinner and we'll put you up in a hotel. And, you know, that's your last little bit of interviewing you've got to do. So I show up to the restaurant and, you know, I meet Bob Euchre for a couple of minutes. And I was telling my parents and my wife before I went down there, I said, hey, even if it doesn't work out and I don't get this job, at least I got to have dinner with Bob Euchre. I mean, that's something in itself. So it was a great opportunity, and not 2 minutes into our conversation, Bud Selig, Commissioner Emeritus, walks around the corner, and he and Bob Euchre are tight because he was the original owner of the Brewers and before he became commissioner. So Bob goes, hey, Al, calls him Al, of course, because he's Bob Euchre. Hey, Al, I want to introduce you to Jeff Levering. He's going to be working with us next year. And again, I didn't have the job at the time, so I figured as soon as Bob introduced me like that to the commissioner, I was going to be in pretty good shape. So it was pretty neat, and it's just been a great experience for me. Even when I'm not calling games, I get to sit in the booth behind him and Joe Block, who I'm going to work with on the road. So I get to hang out with Bob on a day in and day out basis and soak up all of his knowledge. And he is by far one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, he not only has a story for everything, but he is so quick-witted, and at 81 years old, he again is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my entire life, and I just am extremely honored just to be in his presence on a day-in and day-out basis.
And what a great way to not only learn on the job, but like you said, soak up those experiences. Anybody, you don't have to be a Brewers fan to know who Bob Euchre is. That name alone arguably trumps any name on their roster. One name that does stand out is Ryan Braun. Certainly has been a controversial figure in some instances of his career, but certainly has been the face of the Brewers and a consistent all-star throughout his career. What's it been like watching him play and seeing him on a day-to-day basis?
He's been really good. I mean, he is the face of the franchise right now. He and Carlos Gomez are the two polarizing players in that clubhouse, and and they've both been great. Ryan's coming off of a down year, and obviously 2013 was not a great season for him with the whole suspension. And then last year having a thumb injury in the middle of May and then playing through it, and he had to cryogenically freeze his hand in the off season, which is insane to think about. Yeah, that was the treatment that he went through to.
Sounds like something out of Austin Powers.
I know, right? Or Demolition Man back in the 1990s with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. So he went through this cryogenically freezing process to numb the tendons and stuff within his thumb. He feels like a different guy, and he says he's at 100%, and he's starting to swing the bat a little bit better now. But he's been great to work with. He's a very, very nice guy. And Carlos Gomez, before he had his hamstring problem, he's been great to work with too. Those two are very polarizing characters in that clubhouse. And Jonathan Lucroy is one that garnered some MVP votes last year, finished in the top 5 in MVP, and set a baseball record for doubles in a single season for a catcher. So he's kind of a forgotten guy in that clubhouse. But I'd be willing to say that he is more the leader than Gomez or Braun is in that clubhouse at the moment.
And just the catcher position in general, I feel like you see so many catchers make the transition to manager. I feel like you really have to be the catcher, in my opinion, to make a football reference, is the quarterback on the field. He's the one calling the plays. He's the one reading the base runners, really keeping the pitchers under control. And a lot of times the catcher, I mean, you look at a guy like Yadier Molina with your rival, the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, such an underrated aspect of baseball is consistency. You look at Buster Posey and the success the Giants have had.
Sure.
The consistency at the catcher position really is such an underrated, I feel, aspect in the world of baseball.
Yeah, it really is, and you're right. He is the quarterback on the field, or he's the manager on the field. Is a great way to put it too. To keep it with the baseball reference, I mean, he's the only guy who's facing that direction. Everybody else is looking at him. So I mean, everybody's got their eyes on him. He is the guy. He's the field general. He's the guy who's in charge of not only his own offense and his own defense, but he's got to look after his entire pitching staff and all those different personalities. And he has to convey all of the messages that the manager and the coaching staff wants to get out to their players. And you mentioned it, a lot of catchers go out to become great managers in the major leagues, and it's because they have that experience behind the plate and being the field general and all that. And you look at some of the managers that are in the big leagues right now, I would say that a third of them are former catchers, if not a little bit more.
Girardi,
Brad Austin.
Matheny.
Right. Brad Austin is one. Mike
Yep.
Scioscia, you forget about that. Bruce Bochy was a former catcher. And those, and I'm just waiting for the day that Jason Varitek's going to get a call to manage somewhere too. Being the Red Sox fans that you guys are, and me being in that organization for a couple of years, got to know Jason Varitek a little bit, and I got a feeling he's not too far away from getting a managerial job. He's just one of those guys who's polarizing, and he knows his stuff.
I think Tech would be a great coach or manager, rather. What is he doing now? Is he doing like radio, or is he like an assistant manager somewhere, or is he just like a free agent?
No, he is a special assistant to Ben Cherington. He's still in the Red Sox organization. He helps out the catchers in spring training, and he's a scout as well. He does some scouting stuff for the Red Sox too, but he's still in the organization.
I could be a hidden gem for any organization who's looking for a future hire. Now, a cheap plug here. I got Carlos Gomez on my fantasy team. He did great. Then he went down on the DL. How's he looking, man? Can I get an update?
Sure. He's been playing catch every single day and taking batting practice every day and doing everything like he would normally be doing, except for the running part. So I think he's going to start vamping that up in the next couple of days. And I would be shocked if at the end of 15 days he's not back in the lineup.
So I don't have to panic and pick up another outfielder. I can wait it out a week and it's okay?
Well, I mean, if you've got a DL spot, I certainly would put him in that DL spot just so you're not losing points. But no, I think he's going to be fine if you wait it out an extra week.
Yeah, thankfully I have some good backup. But, yeah.
There you
go. The fantasy insight with Jeff Levering. Maybe that's your future career right there. A lot of money in the fantasy world right now.
Hey, Jeff, this is Mike of the StrikeZone. Quick question for you. I know the Brewers are not off to a hot start at 313. Where do you think they need to make their biggest improvement to compete in that division?
Well, I mean, if you looked at our team coming out of spring training, we were one of the best offenses in the Cactus League. We were also one of the best pitching staffs in the Cactus League, and it just hasn't translated into the regular season. So with 3 of our 9 starters out of our starting lineup at the moment, Scooter Jeanette's on the DL, Carlos Gomez and Jonathan Euchre are on the DL. We've had some guys come up from AAA, and they've injected a little bit of life into our team. There was, the first 10 games of the year, you could tell that the team was a little bit listless. They didn't play with a ton of passion. And, Ron Renicky is not the type of manager who's going to go up to somebody in the clubhouse and just light them up just to try and get them fired up for the next day or kind of, light a fire underneath their backside. He's not that kind of guy. He's very hands-off, and he's just going to let you do your thing. So you got to motivate yourself from within. And I think this club, having started the way that they've started, the worst start in franchise history, these are guys that have a lot of pride in what they're doing, and they're very passionate about what they're doing. And, I think that we've turned a corner a little bit. And with today's win against Cincinnati and staved off a sweep, and with the Cardinals coming into town, I think this is going to be a really big series for us this weekend against St. Louis. I think if we end up taking 2 out of 3 against St. Louis, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Our owner of the club came into town yesterday and chatted with players individually and our manager and our general manager. So it's not like everybody in that clubhouse is on notice at the moment. But they're aware, obviously, that something's going on and something could be on the horizon here pretty soon.
And Jeff, speaking of the St. Louis Cardinals, who you spoke about the Brewers playing this upcoming weekend, you actually did some work for the St. Louis Cardinals with the Springfield Cardinals, the AA affiliate. Now, are there any of those players that you covered during that time with Springfield that are currently with the big team, St. Louis?
Yeah, I would say about 3/4 of the guys that are with the St. Louis Cardinals I had in Springfield at one time or another. There's another guy that I had as well, Peter Borges, that was part of the Angels organization that I had when I was in high class A in Rancho Cucamonga. So I know a good number of people over in that opposing dugout. So tomorrow's ball game tomorrow night, it'll be kind of a nice little homecoming for some of those guys. And a couple of years ago, there was a St. Patrick's Day game. I believe it was 2014. Yeah, 2014, St. Patrick's Day. The Red Sox played the Cardinals, and I went down on the field beforehand and saw all these old teammates and guys that I had covered, and they were like, "Man, what are you doing here?" I said, "I work for the Red Sox. I'm in AAA now." And they were really excited to see me, so it'll be fun to kind of rehash some of those memories and go down memory lane. I mean, the Texas League and AA, you've got 16-hour bus rides, so you get to know these players extremely well. And, we won a championship in the Texas League in 2012. So there are a lot of those guys that are on that team that are in St. Louis now it'll be fun to see most of them.
Now, Jeff, you also speak of your employment with the Pawtucket Red Sox. Have you been following the situation down in Rhode Island with the potential movement of the franchise, possibly to Providence or elsewhere? And do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been following it. I mean, I haven't been gone all that long. My last day at McCoy Stadium was the end of January. So, I mean, I've only been gone for a couple of months. So I left right before the big announcement was made, and they knew that it was coming. And I think that once the fans get over the fact that they're going to be moving out of McCoy Stadium, that it's going to be a really good thing. Not only for the city of Providence, if they end up getting the land in Providence and building a ballpark, I think that the new ownership group has an opportunity to do something really special with the PawSox franchise. If you build the ballpark right and you get that land down in Providence, I think the city of Providence and even the folks in Pawtucket, and listen, it's only 5 miles away. It's not like they're moving to New Hampshire or they're moving to Maine or something. They're moving 5 miles away. Yeah. And I understand the history of McCoy Stadium, and it's been there since the 1940s and the 33-inning game, but all of that memorabilia and all that stuff's going to come down with it too. So I think it's a really good opportunity for the ownership group to set them up in a great way. And Larry Lucchino's been known for building new ballparks. He did it with Baltimore. He did it with San Diego. He refurbished Fenway Park. So if you're going to have an architect who's going to build a ballpark in the right way for its fans, it's Larry Lucchino, and I think it's going to be a really good thing for New England and for PawSox fans too.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly people have their varied opinions, and I think people are resistant to change in general.
Yeah, in New England especially.
And in New England, you cite that 5 mile thing. I feel like at Rhode Island especially, people have that mentality where they don't want to drive the Newport, but if you lived in another state, maybe you had to drive that length just to get gas or just to get a gallon of milk. So it's the conditioned mentality we have in New England and specifically in Rhode Island. But I mean, I will say, as someone, my first job was with the PawSox. Jay, of course, is a cameraman, does a great job with the Pawtucket Red Sox. So there's certainly, my friend Ryan Fox over here covers the PawSox for 990 WBOB. So it's certainly, there's a lot of personal investment there. And I think if they ever were to talk about maybe tearing down Fenway or tearing down Wrigley Field, you'd see this on a much grander scale. Obviously, this is a small community affected by it. As a Pawtucket resident, I have my concerns just from the economics that the city of Pawtucket may or may not lose from it, and jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But I can certainly see your points and how in the greater scope, this could be a really great thing. And the land in Providence is a really beautiful area. If they can pull the trigger, I hear varied reports on that. But it is a beautiful area.
Yeah, no, it really is. And again, if they build it right, and I look at what the city of Charlotte did with the Charlotte Knights franchise. I mean, they moved from Fort Mill, South Carolina, which was in the middle of absolutely nowhere. You know, we had to stay in Charlotte and then bus 45 minutes to South Carolina to play them in Charlotte. And then they moved to right downtown in Charlotte in the heart of everything. And it, you know, you could essentially make the argument that that is a big league ballpark. All you need is an extra tier. I mean, it's got a big league skyline behind it. So Providence doesn't have the skyline that, say, Charlotte does, but it's got a pretty beautiful skyline. You've got an opportunity with the water there, too, to make a really good ballpark and a really fun atmosphere. And you know, they might not be the Pawtucket Red Sox anymore, but they could be the Providence PawSox if you want them to be, or you could change them to whatever you wanted them. So I really do think that it's a good thing. And you know, I was talking Dr. Charles Steinberg, who's actually in Milwaukee yesterday, and I had an opportunity to talk with him. He's the guy who does all the ceremonies for the Red Sox. He did all the ring ceremonies for them, and he did the 100th anniversary of Fenway. He's the guy who plans all these extravagant things. And, you know, I chatted with him a little bit yesterday, too, and he goes, you know, it's a great opportunity, as I said. And if they build the ballpark right, I think fans are going to come out in droves, and they're still going to be passionate about the Red Sox. Nobody's taking the Red Sox away.
Yeah.
I mean, if the affiliation changed, the Yankees came into town, or it became like the Cincinnati Reds affiliate, you'd have a problem. But it's still going to be the Red Sox. It's still going to be close. And instead of being 45 miles away from Fenway, you're going to be 51 miles. So it's a good thing.
Hey, close to the highway too.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. And you have a couple of more ways to get out of the ballpark too. I mean, McCoy's tough.
Oh yeah, I'll give you that.
Now, Jeff, talking about the new ballparks, what do you think? Is it time to get a new Fenway Park? I
don't think so. I don't think Fenway's going anywhere.
No.
You know, and you talk about having a tough time with land. I mean, where would you put it? You know, and Fenway's it's a gem. It's an absolute gem. Everybody talks about Wrigley and how it's better than Fenway Park. There are people here in Milwaukee who hate going to Chicago just because they don't want to go to Wrigley because it's awful. The fans might enjoy it, but now that you don't have bleachers in the outfield yet, and they're not going to be done for another month or so, it's, you know, you got guys that are going to the bathroom in the middle of the concourse. Fenway would never. That's below the folks up in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Miller Park over there in Milwaukee.
Oh,
I gotta say that is
ballpark.
one of my favorite stadiums, along with Camden Yards. It is absolutely beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It is. It's a good spot to go to work every day. That's for sure. And I get to see a lot of sausage races.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that? I know they do they have different sausages that dress up like they have like a kielbasa and then and they run around the ballpark.
I have a video of that.
We've been doing it for about 15 years now, roundabout, I think. And you got a hot dog, you have a Polish sausage, there's an Italian sausage. there's a chorizo and a bratwurst.
Yep.
So they added the chorizo a couple of years ago. So you got a 5 sausage race that goes between the top and the bottom half of the 6th inning every single night. And, that became really popular back in 2003, I believe. Randall Simon of the Pirates took out one of the sausages.
I remember that. Yep.
And you had a lawsuit, and he actually got fined and had to pay a big old, he had to pay medical bills and all this stuff because the person who was running it got all banged up, and it created a pretty good marketing campaign with the Brewers. They were selling a bunch of T-shirts and hats and all sorts of memorabilia that said, "Don't whack our wieners." So
very nice.
Oh, it's fantastic. So obviously they got a lot of pub with that, and on Sundays they have mini sausage races. You know how at McCoy they have they have paws and socks that go across the field between the first and second inning, and they've got the little mini paws and socks that dance behind them. We do the same thing, but with mini sausages. So
okay,
they're just
the little kids, right?
Little weirdos.
Yeah, with the little kids. They're just little pranks.
Now, follow-up question: would the Jeff Livering end up in a sausage suit doing a race at one point or another, or have you already?
I'm trying. I'm trying to lobby it because I do a podcast every single week, and I'm doing some stuff for the website too. I haven't done any stories for the website quite yet, but I'm trying to get in one of the sausages and strap a GoPro to my chest and see how it works out. I'm trying to do the same thing with Bernie up in the slide. Be Bernie for a day and slide down the slide if somebody hits a homer. So those are a couple of things that are on my radar to do for sure.
Oh, we on the Strike Zone are tracking your progress. Maybe we can make like a Rocky montage video and really hype it up. We can start a social media campaign. Get Levering in the suit.
I love it. Let's make Levering a sausage.
Yeah, hashtag make Levering a sausage.
And
sausage fy me. I think that's what it could be. Sausify me. Yeah.
Sausify me. I like it.
And Jeff, there's a long list of PawSox broadcasters who have reached, the call to the big leagues. Your name gets added to this long list. I mean, how does it feel to be in the company of guys like Gary Cohen, Don Orsillo, Dave Fleming, Andy Fried, Dan Horn, Aaron Goldsmith, and recently, a couple years ago, Bob Sochi?
Recent Strike Zone guest.
Well, I tell you what, I'm certainly glad that the streak didn't end with me. I can tell you that much. It is extremely humbling to know that guys like Gary Cohen, who I'm going to see in about 6 weeks or in about 3 weeks now, in New York, and I'm going to cross paths with Dave Jagler, who's in Washington, and Dave Fleming, who's going to come into town from San Francisco. And we've kind of created a little PawSox Mafia in the big leagues. I mean, there's 7 guys that are in the big leagues that have been in the same chair that I sat in McCoy. So it's really special. It's really special to be a part of that. There's no other organization in baseball that can boast that. Not even close. I mean, you might have 2 tops or 3 minor league teams that have produced big league guys, but not 7 Major League Baseball guys and 2 NFL guys. So, to be a part of that was amazing for me. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that it's not just the job that gets you. It's not just because you have Pawtucket, you're going to get that next job. It doesn't hurt. But the thing that was big for me was because I got the Pawtucket job, everybody was going to be tuning in. Everybody was going to be listening to see, well, does this guy really deserve that job? Or, oh, he got the job. He must be really good. Let's tune in. So, and because it's the Red Sox organization, everybody's going to be hanging on every single word you say, and if you mess up, they're going to let you know about it. So I had to be on my game every single day, every single pitch of every single game. And if I wasn't, I was going to hear about it. So that made me so much better. It's exponential how much I changed and how much better I got from the moment I stepped in to the booth at McCoy Stadium to when I left, just in 2 short years, how much better I got. And it was because of the Red Sox fans and because of what having that job means. and it was an incredible couple of years for me. And to be the last guy on that list right now is pretty special of the guys that are in the big leagues.
It's like a factory up there, not just with the major league talent, but with the, as you said, no other team can boast that kind of stat. Very impressive.